Then the stock market fell. At first, people did not think it would matter much to my father. After all, he had no money in the stock market, so her father didn't have any money in the stock market. He didn't have any business with the stock market. So people thought at that time that there will be no problem for him because he didn't lose any money like other people. But what he said, I may have rocks in my head, he said, but I think bad times are coming. So although he didn't lose any of his money, but he think that bad times are coming to him. And bad times did come. People couldn't afford to buy new cars or fix their old ones. When business was slow, my father would play chess with some of his customers. So now people stop coming to buy gas, they only come to play chess. When business was very slow, my grandfather would mind the filling station. And we'd pile as many of us kids as would fit into our Model T. And we'd hunt for more rocks with my father. So here they don't have any jobs, so what they do, they go to collect some rocks. Okay. Here the stock market, we said it's the activity of buying and selling shares in particular companies. So those companies fail, they lose all of this money, all of that money, and also all of their money. The cause is the stock market fail. What affects that comes after this code? Is this cause? Bad times come. People could not afford to buy new cars or fix their old one. Also, the narrator's father had bad times to play chess and go rock hunting. Okay? Here, why do you think that times were difficult for the author's family, even though they don't have or they don't lose any or no money in the stock market? Because people do not have money to buy cars to come to the filling station. Here, their business depends on people having money to spend on cars and car repairs. And if people do not have cars or do not have money to repair their cars, what will happen? They will lose their job. He had to build more shelves for the rocks up the west wall of the station. Then, he started to build more shelves in the station because he do nothing except collecting rocks and put them on shelves. Then people stopped coming for gas. They stopped coming to play chess. And they even stopped coming to look at the rocks and minerals. Where they go? Why they stopped coming to the gas station? They were all too busy looking for work. So they lost their money, so they want to find a job, find a work for them, so they can They can stay alive. One day, my father picked up the chess set and carefully packed it in a big box. He took down each mineral, wrapped it in newspaper, and carefully placed it in a wooden box. So when you place your toys, the kitchen tools inside boxes, what does that mean? This means that people, what happened? They want to move from a place to another. The first thing that he did in the old house, and let's continue. Here we have the people stopped coming to the gas station. This is a statement of fact, it's not opinion. One day my father picked up the chess set and carefully packed it, yes, as we said. When his friends came with a truck to help us move, they said, "Watch out for those wooden boxes." He'd got rocks in his boxes now. "Yes, sir," said my father. "That's what I got in there. Take a look at this one." So now we know that he moves from this place, from the gas station. خلاص, he leaves the gas station and he wants to go to another house to save more money, because their old house, or the big house that they were living in, was expensive for them. So they want to go to look for a cheap house. The first thing he did in the old house was build shelves for rocks. When people are very attached, like they love it, to something, attached to something, they treat it with great care. He took care of each mineral of each rock. He put it inside a newspaper, wrap it as if it's a diamond. The father's rock collection was important for him. Here, the house we moved to was old and falling apart. My father said he'd have it fixed up in no time. But before he started in on the repairs. So here, as we know that this house is old and it's not new, and it starts to, there's a lot of cracks on the walls, on the floor, and need to be fixed or need to be repaired. So here, before he started the repairs, what he did, he took all of these rocks to the attic, where he'd already built tiny little wooden shelves, as we said before. My father did fix up the old house, and after he finished each repair, he went up to the attic with his rocks. He spent a lot of time reading about rocks too. So here, the father's hobby relaxed him and made him feel good. Every time, just after he finished doing the hard work, he would go to the attic to spend time with the rocks, studying them. Studying his rocks was a treat, as a gift for him. Here, the author writes that people stopped coming to the gas station. They come to play chess, also stop coming to look at the rocks. These are all effects. What is the cause that causes them to these effects? Here they were looking for jobs. So because they look for jobs, they stopped coming to the gas station. Also, they stopped coming to see the rocks. They stopped coming to play chess. All of these three, we call them effects. But what is the cause? What causes this effect? That people were looking for jobs. If you think those rocks are ever going to do anything, any good, said my mother, you've got rocks in your head. So now the mother is also a little mad, because dad always go upstairs to the attic to look and to read about rocks. Maybe I have, said my father. Maybe I have. He reached into his bucket. Take a look at this one. My father spent a lot of time looking for any job he could find. Any job. He wants any job. Most jobs lasted only a day or two. On rainy days, When my father could find no other work, what he did, he'd take the bus to the science museum. They had a whole room full of glass cases containing many rocks. So in the museum, there's a room. What's inside this room? There's glass cases, like glass boxes. What's inside those glass boxes? Many rocks. Sometimes he'd spend the whole day in that room, of course, because he likes rocks and looking at the rocks. Here, when would the father go to the museum? We said when it's rainy and he couldn't find any work to do for the day, so directly he go to the museum. One afternoon, he looked up to see the lady standing beside him. "I've seen you here before," she said. "I come here a lot," he said. I guess I have rocks in my head." "Tell me what you are looking for," she said. "I'm looking for rocks that are better than mine." So here, mine is one of the possessive pronoun, mine, which means my rocks. He said, "How many did you find?" she asked. 10, he said. The lady looked around at the hundreds of rocks, hundreds, maybe 100, 200, 300, 400, in all those glass cases. "Only 10, maybe 11, he said. He smiled. She did too. So here we can see this woman. She works in the museum, and she has seen the father coming here over and over. So what's her name? What's her story? We will see in the next pages. "You've got rocks in your head. You've got rocks in your head," she said. "I'm Grace Johnson, the director of this museum. These rocks have come from all over the world." So this is the woman that was in this picture. Her name is Grace Johnson. Grace Johnson. Grace Johnson. She is the director of this museum. She is one of the board of the museum. Here, so she said that these rocks have come from all over the world. So have mine. So the same thing is with his rocks. His rocks came from all over the world, said my father. He reached into his bucket. "Take a look at this one," he said. "Did you study rocks at college?" She asked. Couldn't afford to go to college," he said. So she asked him, "Did you go to the college after you finished your school?" The university. College here means the university. Like you go to study doctor there, you go to study to become an engineer. There's also a kind of subjects which is to study what? To study rocks. It's called mineralogy. He said what he said. Couldn't afford to go to college. That means he didn't have money. He didn't have money to go to the college. That's why he didn't go to the college and study anything about rocks. But he knows because he has read a lot of books about what? About rocks. Mrs. Johnson got out her big Packard touring car, and my father got in. So this woman, the director, Mrs. Johnson, had a big car. So she takes the father with him. They drove. Where they go? They drove to our house. "Where are the rocks?" she asked. Up here, said my father, leading the way to the attic. Watch your step. 2 hours later, Mrs. Johnson said, I cannot hire you as a mineralogist. The board wouldn't allow it. But I need a night janitor at the museum. Will you take the job? What he said, will I be cleaning the rocks? So the night janitor is this person who works to clean the floor, also to clean the exhibits, to clean the things that is inside the museum. Here we have these rocks have come from all over the world. This is a statement of fact. Here she said, I cannot hire you. That means I cannot give you the job as a mineralogist. Okay? But she can give him a job as what? As a janitor. Night janitor. Someone who works to take care of the building or office. What he said? He said, will I be cleaning the rocks? This is the only thing that he cares about. He asked. Sometimes, she said. So my father took the job as night janitor at the museum. Before he went home, he'd open some of the mineral cases at the museum, of course, and scrub them and clean them. Some of those rocks with toothbrush. So, like, he takes care of those rocks and clean them with a toothbrush. So, because it's so tiny, so small. Here, the father cares a lot about these rocks and wants to make them look the best. The author's father takes the job as a janitor because he would be cleaning the rocks sometimes. What does this tell you about him? Of course, this tells us that he loves and he really likes the rocks. Here we have Mrs. Jennison tells the narrator's father that she cannot hire him as a mineralogist. Why? What are the reasons why she cannot hire him as a mineralogist? Because he didn't study at college, and also the board of the museum would not allow, or let's say wouldn't allow it. Mrs. Johnson came in early for work one morning and saw him carefully writing a new label for one of the rocks. What are you doing? She asked. One rock was labeled wrong. He said, I fixed it. Mrs. Johnson smiled. I have been a person, Mrs. Johnson smiled. I've been talking to the board of directors. They know that I need a person here who knows as much about rocks as you do. So the board of the direction, the people who lead the museum want a person who knows a lot about rocks. And she was talking to him about this because she wants someone knows a lot about rocks as the father do. What about the college education? He asked. Because at the beginning she told him that she cannot hire him as what? As a mineralogist, because he didn't study in college. So now he's asking her, how can you hire me as a mineralogist and I don't have college education? She said, I told them I need someone with rocks in his head and rocks in his bucket. Are you it? Are you this person? Maybe I am, my father said. Maybe I am. He reached into his bucket and we know at the end he took out a rock take a look at this one, he said. And at the end of the story, he got the job as a mineralogist. Here we know the narrator's father gets so much satisfaction out his rock collecting that keeps him happy even when times are hard. So always when he got bad times, only he makes the best of those bad times. The author's feeling was happy as his dream finally came true, to work something that has to deal with what? With rocks. This is the end of the story, and see you inshallah next time.